is Life Coach Rich. Um, come to you today. This is the last part of President Biden's NATO speech. Part of it that was talking about um, Ukraine and that Russia will not prevail over Ukraine. They're actually Ukraine's going to win the war. And so then former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, he used to be in the armed forces, has some really good insight into a couple of points, insight into that. You can watch the whole video. I'll put it in the link in the description.
When this senseless war began, Ukraine was a free country. Today, it is still a free country. And the war will end with Ukraine remaining a free and independent country. Russia will not prevail. Ukraine will prevail.
What did you make of it? There's two major points here. Number one is President Biden simply making the statement that Ukraine will prevail, Russia will not prevail, does not make it so. He is being dishonest with the American people and being dishonest with the people of Ukraine who he claims to care about. This war will continue to go on as a war of attrition. Many, many more Ukrainians will needlessly be killed in a war that you and I and many others have known from the very beginning would only end with a negotiated treaty. There are so many reasons why this is the case. They have been proved out throughout the almost 2 years now that this war has been waged. Russia has a strong military-industrial complex. They have many, many more troops than Ukraine will ever be able to muster, and they are already running out of able-bodied men who are willing to go and fight. They're essentially kidnapping men off the streets now and forcing them to fight and making it so that those who fled Ukraine because they didn't want to fight in this war are being forced to come back into the country. Russia has already rebuilt and reconstituted their military to a point where they are stronger now, both in hardware and in manpower, than they were when they started this war, when they invaded Ukraine, which obviously was wrong, but this is the reality that we are facing. So for President Biden to say this, to make this statement, promising our taxpayer dollars, as we know, some NATO allies are looking at sending in their troops, which, if anything happened to a single one of their troops, would invoke Article 5 and force us to get involved. He's being dishonest with the American people about the cost, both of our taxpayer dollars and our security. The longer this goes on, the more it continues to escalate, as President Biden is escalating this proxy war, which ultimately is about regime change in Russia. The closer we get to nuclear Armageddon, and we are already closer than we ever have been before. The other point that I think is really important to make here is, as you said, Megan, we do care about the people of Ukraine and their plight and the destruction and the loss that they are experiencing. Those who really care about the people of Ukraine, if President Biden really cared, he would have led those negotiations to end this war a long time ago. We have the leverage to be able to do it. Lastly, he talks about Ukraine is free and will remain free.
Please do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, and notifications. And then also after you're done, please share the video with a friend. That really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much. And let's continue. And this is another really good point related to what free over in Ukraine doesn't mean what we want it to mean.
What does that freedom look like? Well, in a free Ukraine under President Zelensky, he has dismantled, disbarred, and imprisoned any major political opposition individuals or political parties. Anytime they stand up and start to challenge him, he uses his Department of Justice to ban their existence and to seize their assets. He just did it again recently, a few weeks ago. He has taken total control of all of the media in Ukraine. It is now a government-controlled media and government-controlled messaging. He has gone after, I think, is the second largest church in Ukraine and banned them and shut them down. He has canceled elections so that anyone who wanted to challenge him and his leadership and the decisions that he's making does not even have the opportunity to do so. So how can you say this is a free country? And secondly, we look at, well, how does that apply to, why should we care? Why should we care about what Zelensky is doing there when we have our own president saying that we are defending Ukraine's democracy and we're defending Ukraine's freedom? Well, if that's what he thinks is freedom and democracy, we got to pay really close attention to what they are doing here at home and how willing they may be to claim a state of war and martial law and cancel our own elections and defy our own constitution, because this is what freedom is to President Biden and his administration.
I mean, that's if he's doing that stuff, that's a dictatorship. And basically it's like communism. Those are the different things of communism. You're not going to oppose them. You're going to not think about something beyond yourself. You're going to have your only allegiance to the state. And all of that is, well, I mean, Ukraine, the heritage it comes from communism as far as Ukraine. So he's just another dictator, different than Putin. But, you know, is he very different than Putin? both Putin and Zelensky have said through I've seen through the media, they said that I'm sorry, former President Trump has said if he's elected office, as soon as he gets in office, he actually said while he's president elect, he will negotiate a treaty to end the war. And Zelensky and Putin have both said through the media that they would be willing to do that. I mean, isn't that crazy? The sitting president hasn't taken the negotiation leverage and negotiation seriously in his administration. It just shows the lack of involvement, a lack of true foreign policy. President Biden says that he inherited really bad situations with the nations that he had to single-handedly turn around, and everything's much stronger than it used to be. I totally disagree with that. President Trump was much more um, President Trump was much more interactive and not a wet noodle, I would say, with the nations. And so they knew that they're not necessarily going to get away with stuff with him like they can with President Biden. So it's just not a good situation. It shows that he doesn't actually have foreign policy, but he can go on a speech and tout how much that he has done for the nations. All the leaders look up to him. But again, this is a spin. It's not true. It's just stuff that he's feeding you, that the media is feeding you, and it's time for him to go. Um, Thanks for watching. That's what I have for you in this video. We need to keep improving together, guys. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.